Hi, I'm Chris Hoff of the Security Business Unit. Today I want to talk to you about a really interesting topic that is top of mind with lots of our customers, enterprise, service providers, even government. And that is this notion of active defense. And active defense has been a term that's really been mutated to include all sorts of other extremities of definition, from responding back to an attacker in an interactive way, or even from an automated way, all the way up to literally counterstrike or preemptive cyber attack on the behalf of a nation state, for example. We've seen the head of the NSA, head of DOD, large government entities really talking about dealing with foreign nation state incursion into domains and both civil and in public sector that really sparked the imagination of both defenders as well as new startups and innovators and established network companies, us being one of them. So when we look at these terms, the notion of active defense, offensive security, or even strike back or hack back technologies is really what's driving this conversation. And I was on a panel at a large security trade show recently where the panel was made up of really interesting mix of folks. There were some vendors in the established networking space and security space. There was an emerging vendor in the space that combined both kinetic and cyber responses in some cases with incident response in terms of incursions. And then there was a lawyer who was really from the civil liberties side of the house that was talking about both the legality and morality of where you draw the line in your ability to actually push back on attackers and do more than just static or passive defense. So our customers, whether they're talking about being on the receiving end of a distributed denial of service attack or a really, really targeted advanced persistent threat from a very well-equipped, well-funded adversary, are really pulling their hair out here about how they should respond, where they should draw that line. So we've seen the adaptation of technology, whether that's from low interaction to high interaction honeynets and honeypots from the last 20 years or so, all the way up to extending the capabilities of intrusion detection and intrusion prevention and firewall devices, to the notion of including capabilities of taking telemetry and data from lots of different points to essentially respond to attacks in a multi-phased approach. All of these things end up being needed, but again, the issue comes back to where do I draw the line? Where do I end up going from kind of the notion of protecting myself from due force to actually, in some cases, initiating attacks? Because attribution here is really important. We know that attackers can hide where they're coming from, the machines, the sources, they use anonymizers. And so the notion here of just being able to kind of look at an attacker and remove them from the internet, for example, because you think that they're the actual attacker, could have all sorts of profound implications. When we look at the fact that entire countries are netted behind single IP addresses, attacking, removing, blocking, or somehow interfering with their ability to connect to the internet, could set up an entire chain of events here that go well beyond just some attacker or some attacker being removed from attacking your web app. So there's profound and potentially very difficult legal, moral, and technical repercussions to some of these decisions. So what are we to do? Do we just continue to essentially lie down and passively react? We don't think so. Ultimately, there's a balance to be made here, such that if you can ultimately get as close as you can to uniquely identifying not only an attacker, but the machine he or she is using, that device, like we do with Web App Secure, formerly known as Mykonos, we get better ability to at least slow the attacker down, and the way in which we respond to them becomes much more pointed, and we can draw the line as to how aggressive we want those responses to be. We recently saw in the news an implementation of a very aggressive honeypot that actually ensnared lots of white hat security researchers and black hat attackers. And so the notion here of accuracy and precision has taken center stage, especially when you juxtapose it with, for example, attacks that we've seen already with things like Stuxnet, and how that is literally changing overnight the way in which nation states interact with one another. So we've seen a lot of news recently about China and advanced adversaries and advanced persistent threat, and how ultimately attackers and defenders are playing this very interesting chess game. So from a technology and solution perspective, what we're really looking to do is take and harness a bunch of individual technology solutions that have coverage across a broad and vast set of networks and geographies. Use that information and intelligence to get better about being able to pinpoint attacks, and then be very creative but yet responsible about how we allow our customers to respond to those attacks in ways that attribution becomes less of an issue and the certainty in how they defend their networks becomes much more pointed. So stay tuned, because I think we're going to see some really interesting developments in this space, both for the industry and Juniper. I look forward to talking to you more about it soon. Thanks for listening.